Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this video, we're going to count down a top 10 list of figures, which is not quantifiable in any sort of way. This is just another one of those lists that's based solely on what I want and what I like. It's a lot like the last top 10 video that I did, which was top 10 figures I want, but they don't exist. This is the top 10 figures I want, they do exist, I just don't have them, and in many cases, I had them and sold them. Now that's a lot harder to say, so I didn't come up with like a clever intro or anything like that. But people ask me all the time, you know, what figures do you actually want for your collection that you don't already have? Because you have basically everything. And, you know, I never really thought about it too much other than when I try to pick things out here and there that I need to fill in spots. But since we've been setting up these shelves lately, it's made me think, you know, what am I actually missing? What do I need? What do I want? That kind of thing. And sadly, like I said, a lot of those things are things that I had and then sold mostly a long time ago. It's very disappointing. Anyway, this is my top 10 list of things I want that exist. I just don't have them. Some of them are fairly recent figures. Some of them are fairly old figures. And this is in no particular order, so let's just jump right in. The first figure we're going to talk about on this list is the NECA Raziel figure. And here's the thing about this. I owned this figure a few different times, and I kept selling them off because at the time, it wasn't hard to come by. I was like, oh, somebody wants it, I need to buy something else. I didn't have any money, so I sold it. I bought the new thing I wanted. It was the way I did things as a younger collector in college. I didn't have the spare money. I had this version, I had the regular version, or the clear version, and this regular version, the Material Realm, I think is what it's called. It's been forever now. It's just such a gorgeous figure, and I think most people that are collecting right now, if they don't have this figure, they can relate. They probably are yearning for this as well. It's one of NECA's first forays into the highly articulated, highly detailed action figures, and I so miss this figure. I totally need to track one down, but they're just so hard to come by now, and they're not cheap, and I don't even have a personal connection to the character. The figure is just that cool and that unique. I need it for my collection. One day I'll track one down again, but unfortunately I don't have it now, so it makes the list. The next figure I want to talk about is one that I really don't even want, but I want it because it's for my Smash Brothers collection. It's the Figma Pitts. It's not a character I like at all. He's okay, I guess. I don't have an opinion either way. I don't particularly like the character design, and I hear it's not that great of a figure, but it's the only figure of the main, like, proper characters, not like Pokemon or whatever, that I don't have for my Smash collection that does exist in the world. And it was so cheap for a while, it was super easy to come by, and then as soon as they dried up, bam, that price shot through the roof. I guess I should technically include Dark Pit in this also, just because they're both in the game now. So yeah, I don't really want this figure, but I still want it because it needs to go in the Smash collection, so that's why it's on the list. This next figure is actually a whole group of figures. It's a whole line of figures from NECA, and these are the Resident Evil figures. And here's the thing, I had like 99% of them at one point, just like Raziel, and I sold them. I was like, hey, I need to buy other things. I have these, I'll sell them, and now they're gone. And I don't have them, and they're a lot harder to come by now. And they weren't even that great, honestly. I mean, they were mostly statues with a little bit of articulation, but they had a certain charm to them. If you were fans of the Resident Evil games, especially these earlier figures, they really were they hit the spot. Even though you couldn't pose them very well, they still had lots of accessories and a lot of detail, and they were super fun to have. And then as the line went on, they ended up with a lot more articulation, and a lot more posability, a lot more fun. But I miss them all, and I hate that I sold them. I pretty much hate that I sold everything I've ever sold, but these guys are definitely on the list. They were such a unique line of figures. They looked so good on a shelf. Man, I really totally miss these. The next figure on the list is Damone Cashew from SH Figuarts, which is the main character from G Gundam, and I didn't know about G Gundam or this figure when it came out, but later on when I started watching anime more regularly and I found out about G Gundam and it became one of my favorite Gundam series, I looked into getting the figures, and this one was hard to come by, and it's only been harder and harder to come by. I was hoping they would release the Street Clothes one, which they showed, but they never did, and this one never dropped in price, and I just never got around to picking it up. It's one of their early SH Figuarts figures, so I'm guessing it's not particularly good, but it goes along with one of my favorite Gundam suits of all time, so I really need to track this guy down. Eventually, someday, I'll get him in my collection, but at this point, It's a sad empty spot right there next to my robot Damashi, which are not yet on display, but hopefully soon will be. Alrighty, the next item on the list is actually a 3-pack, which was a New York Comic Con exclusive, I think from 2015. It's the Power Rangers Legacy line, a Fighting Spirit 3-pack, which includes the Green Ranger, the White Ranger, and the Red Zeo Ranger. And the cool thing about this pack is it relates directly to a particular episode in the Dino whatever it was series where Tommy came back. And while I'm not huge into the Power Rangers fiction, I do really like the Green Ranger and the White Ranger, and so that's a very cool set to have. Also, they come in their metallic colors, I believe. The picture kind of makes it not look that way, but I'm pretty sure they're metallic. But you also get the silver line work on the Green Ranger helmet, which was exclusive to that one episode. So it's a very cool set to pick up, and I need them to complete my Legacy collection, and I haven't been able to track them down. I've had absolutely terrible luck getting a set, and every once in a while they pop up for a good price, and every other once in a while they pop up for an incredible price, and like incredibly bad price. So I just haven't been able to track them down. So these guys aren't very old. They're not particularly special other than their exclusivity. I need to get a little bit lucky, and maybe I'll be able to find a set to complete that collection. Up next, we have another fairly recent release, which I never got around to picking up, and right when I went to do it, it was sold out. It's the Soul of Chogokin Megazord, which is basically the classic Megazord just completely redone. It's like the remastered version with way better quality, better detail, better articulation, all that kind of stuff. The one thing that kept me from buying it, okay, 2 things. One was the price originally, it was fairly expensive, and 2, the ankles don't have a really good ankle rocker or like a swivel hinge. So I never got around to getting it, and then I was finally like, okay, fine, I'll just get it before it sells out. And now it's sold out and it's not available anywhere other than eBay, and that has not been going well for me. So this one is definitely on the list. I've already pre-ordered the Dragon Zord, don't worry. The Dragon Zord's my thing, but I need me a Megazord also. So I will one day I will track this down. Hopefully they reissue it, but otherwise, until then, I'm going to have an empty spot next to my Dragon Zord, and it's kind of sad, but it's still a really cool looking piece, so I have to get it. I grew up on Power Rangers, as I think many of you did as well, so you can see where I'm coming from. You can't have Dragon Zord without Megazord. This next item, I'm sure many people are going to disagree with me in that it's something I should want, but you know what? I want it, and that's all that matters. No, what it is the Providence Robot Damashi figure, which is not a great design in general, but there's something about it that I just really like. I don't particularly like the anime that it's from. I don't particularly like the other suits that it goes with, but I do need to complete the trio of the figures, and I like something about the big turtle shell of missiles that are just on, they just hang out on his back, and he's just a heavy-hitting, badass-looking Gundam, even though at the same time he's kind of goofy-looking. I don't know, I shouldn't want this. Even back when it came out, I shouldn't have wanted it, but I didn't get it. I decided I did want it, and now it's hard to come by. And so this exact thing is why I buy extras of things now, or sometimes even buy things I don't necessarily want when they come out, because if you want it later, it's going to cost you a whole lot more, or you're not going to get it. So grab it while you can. That's the new rule I go by for as many things as I can afford. And so hopefully I don't run into making another one of these videos in another 5 years. But yeah, this one's on the list. I think it looks pretty cool, and hopefully I can track one down for a reasonable price. Coming up next on the list, we have a not particularly good figure. I have actually reviewed this. It's the SH Figuarts Pokemon Lucario figure. I reviewed it. It wasn't great. But here's the thing. I never bought it, because by the time I realized it existed and kind of wanted it, I saw that the Variable Action Heroes line was going to come out with one, and I figured, well, that's got to be better, so I'll just get that. I'll pass on this. Turns out the VAH one is kind of a turd, and now this one is no longer attainable at a reasonable price, so he never got added to the collection. I don't particularly like the character, but I need him for the Smash collection. Again, I need it for the Smash collection. Just like Pitt, that collection's causing me to buy things I don't otherwise want. Maybe I should not make it. Nope, I have to, it's Smash. But yeah, it's the SH Figuarts Lucario. It's a cool enough figure. It's okay, it's kind of cheap and basic, but it still gets the job done. It has a cool blast effect, so it's on the list. I need to track one down eventually. It's not very high on the list, but it is on the list nonetheless. Next up, we have another Robot Damashi, which I haven't managed to track down yet. It's the Hyper Mode of the Master Gundam. And the reason I want this now is because I convinced myself not that long ago to pull the trigger on the hyper mode of the God Gundam, or the Burning Gundam. And so now I need this. I shouldn't want this, but I do. It's gold and shiny and looks cool, and it's got translucent plastic, and that's all fine and dandy. I don't particularly like the Gundam itself, but it goes so nicely with the opponent, the counterpart, that it made the list. I want it. I don't have it. There you go. And then lastly, the final item on my list of all the things I could think of that I really want in my collection if I had to make a top 10, we have the Chogokin Frankie from One Piece. And I wasn't going to add this. For a long time I could have purchased one of these, and I decided not to because the Variable Action Heroes line seemed like they were going in a good direction. I thought we were going to get more characters. Now they've kind of stagnated, and now that I want to get this Frankie figure to fill that spot, it's also really hard to come by. I have reviewed this one. My buddy let me borrow his, and it's a pretty cool figure, and maybe within even a year ago it was not that hard to come by, but it seems to be getting harder and harder. The people that do have them are keeping them, so it's very tricky to find one of these guys. So I really do want a Frankie figure to add to my One Piece collection because he's such a fun character. And at this point, I don't have any faith that we're going to get it from the Variable Action Heroes line, so I'm pretty bummed out, but once again, he is attainable. I will find one someday, somehow. I will get it. And that's the end of my list. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you found that kind of interesting. I think it's kind of fun to talk about these things that aren't necessarily like just straight up action figure review or unboxing or whatever. It's a little more free. We can just talk. We can have some fun. So let me know what you think in the comment section below about my list. You know, would you like those figures? Do you own those figures? Do I suck for wanting them? Do you feel my pain? All of those things. And then also, if you're feeling like typing out a list of 10 things, let me know what 10 things you want to add to your collection that you don't already own. It could be anything. I don't care if you collect Funko Pops or Marvel Legends or stamps. No, don't tell us about stamps. That's boring. But any kind of action figure or collectible, if it's on your list, let us know. Let me know what you're looking for in your collection, and we'll have a fun chat about that. So thanks again for watching, guys. I do appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm putting out videos every day again, at least for as long as I can. We talk about all kinds of fun stuff like this, or action figure reviews, or we do sculpting 3 times a week, or just all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure you come back for that. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Make sure you subscribe and turn on that little bell notification button thingy, because if you don't, YouTube will not tell you I put out a new video, and you'll want the new videos. So make sure you do all that good stuff, guys, and in the meantime, keep collecting.